Did you know that your vocabulary choices could be lowering your score in the DET's Listen Then Speak questions? If you don't use some advanced complex vocabulary, your score's probably going to stay around level 90. But today, the good news is that we're looking at some words and phrases that can help you get 140 when you take the DET. So let's get started. Hello, I'm Francis from Last Minute English, and here on this channel, we help you pass the DET first time with a really high score. Now, before we jump into that vocabulary, let's do a quick review of the Listen Then Speak questions. So the Listen Then Speak looks like this. You'll get an audio which you have 20 seconds to listen to. It'll start playing as soon as the question comes on screen, and you can replay it twice more. So 20 seconds to prepare, to think, to listen, and then you have to speak for up to 90 seconds. So let's listen to an example question now. We're going to hear it 3 times. Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? So that's how the questions sound, and remember, you're going to try and speak for up to 90 seconds. It's really important to speak as much as you can, because that's giving you the chance to show your English skill. And if you make a mistake, don't try to stop and go back again. There is no restart button. You just have to keep going. You only get one opportunity to record these answers. So now we know what Listen Then Speak is all about. Let's start looking at vocabulary. So the first thing that you should mention is to be very clear about the specific example that you've decided to talk about. So the Listen Then Speak questions usually ask you to focus on a person, a place, or an experience. And we heard that in the example that we heard just before. It was about a teacher, so it's a person. So let's look at 5 phrases that we can use to start our answer. So first of all, we could say, as soon as I heard the question, came to mind. So the don't say in your exam. You have to add your own detail there. So came to mind. Or number 2, I'll always associate the word with, and then you say what you think of when you hear of that word. Number 3, when someone mentions like a teacher, I immediately think of, and you say which teacher you think of. Or number 4, this is an easy choice for me. I definitely want to talk about, and then you say who or what you want to talk about. And finally, number 5, I suppose there are a few interesting possibilities, but I'm going to choose, and then you say who you choose. So to answer the question about a memorable teacher, we could say something like this. As soon as I heard the question, my old maths teacher, Mrs. Page, came to mind. Or we could say, when someone mentions unforgettable teachers, I immediately think of Mrs. Page. Or we could say, this is an easy choice for me. I definitely want to talk about Mrs. Page, who taught me maths in high school. Now, of course, those 3 examples are all answering our question about teachers, but they're also very flexible. You can use them about almost any topic, and we'll see a few examples of that a little bit later. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe, because we have new DET videos coming out all the time, and I don't want you to miss them. The second area that we can focus on is time. Time is a great chance to show off your good grammar using the right tense, and you can also put in some nice advanced idioms and fixed expressions. For example, if you're talking about someone in the past, like a memorable teacher, we could say, it was absolutely ages ago now, so it was a long time ago. Or it feels like a lifetime ago. Or it must be coming up for, and then a number, years since, and then since I was in that class, or since I went to that school. So those are good if the question is about the past, but if it's something about the present, for example, your habits or your routines, you could try these 3. We could say, it's something that's part and parcel of daily life. Part and parcel means like it's a normal, everyday thing that I do. Or something is as regular as clockwork. So it happens the same every day or every week. Or I'm doing it day in, day out. And then if we're talking about the future, for example, our goals or our plans, we could say, I've set my sights on, and then doing something or getting something, like getting my PhD. Set my sights means that is my goal. You can also use a great phrase, which is, I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which means I've had a difficult time, but I can see that in the end, I'll get a reward. And if you've been waiting for something and you think it will happen soon, you could say, it could happen any day now. So if we think back to the question, which was about a memorable teacher, we could use a couple of those expressions from the past. So we could say something like this. We could say, it must be coming up for 6 years since I was in Mrs. Page's class. And to be honest, it feels like a lifetime ago. The next step is to talk about your feelings. So feelings are a great way for us to show some advanced vocabulary. And we've got some really good words here, which are like high-level words to describe your feelings. So this is not happy or sad or angry. These ones are much better. Let's take a look. So if you're extremely happy, like very, very happy, you can say, I was elated. If you're thrilled and excited, you can say, I was exhilarated. If you're more comfortable after a difficult, stressful period, you can say, I'm relieved. You were worried about something before and now you're not. If you're pleased with something that you've received or someone's given to you, you can say, I'm grateful. If you don't have a strong feeling either way for something, you can say, I'm indifferent. If you're unsure or you're doubtful about something, you think maybe it's not true or it's a bad idea, you can say, I'm skeptical. If you're nervous and worried about something coming soon, you can say, I'm apprehensive. And if you're angry and bitter about something that happened in the past, you can say, I'm resentful. So let's put a few of those words into a short paragraph to continue our answer. So we could say something like this. I'll always be grateful to Mrs. Page because she made an effort to help me when other teachers seemed indifferent. That means other teachers didn't really care about me. I always felt very apprehensive about maths tests, but she really reassured me and made me believe I could pass. The fourth point that we can focus on is talking about reasons. So usually there'll be 2 or more parts of a listen then speak question. Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? And the second part will often ask you your reasons for doing something. It will say, why do you think that? Or why do you like her? Or why did you do that? So we need to have some good phrases to explain our reasons for doing things. Of course, we can use words like because, and they're okay. But let's take a look at some better ones. First of all, you can say, this stems from, and that means the place or the reason that something comes from. Or you could say, this can be traced back to. So this is something now, like maybe a feeling, and you trace it back. That means you check, where did this thing come from? For example, my love of maths can be traced back to my classes with Mrs. Page. And then the next 4 all are basically other ways of saying because. So we could say, in light of something, or owing to something, or due to the fact that something, or for the simple reason that something. And let's see how we could use those to describe our memorable teacher. So we could say, in light of her kindness, I've thought about her often over the years. So because she was kind, in light of her kindness. Then, owing to her teaching methods, I'm now quite a decent mathematician. So because she was a good teacher. And finally, I'll always remember Mrs. Page for the simple reason that she noticed me when others didn't. The final thing that we have to include is low frequency vocabulary. So low frequency means it doesn't come up every day in our conversations. It's less common. And by using some of these low frequency words, you can show both the DET marking system and also anyone who listens to your answers, like universities or potential employers, that you have really good English. Not just the normal textbook English, but a lot more variety. Now, you don't need to change every word for low frequency words because then your answer would sound weird. But let's take a look at just a few that we can drop in almost any situation. So if something is important or it deserves our attention, we can say it's noteworthy. If it causes a big change or a big improvement, we can say it's transformative. If it gives us a feeling of satisfaction, we can say it's fulfilling. If we have a deep understanding of something, we can say we have an insight. If we want another way to say an opinion or a point of view, we can use perspective. If we want to make something a little better, to improve it, we can say enhance. If we want to encourage or promote development, we can use the verb foster. And if we want to give something strength or give something confidence, we can empower. So if we go back again to our example about Mrs. Page, the maths teacher, we could say, being taught by her gave me a whole new perspective on learning, so a new point of view. And we could say, she fostered a really positive atmosphere in the classroom, so she created that atmosphere. And I hadn't realized how fulfilling maths could be, so I found maths very satisfying. But of course, we can use those words and all of the other ones about many other different topics as well. For example, if you're asked to talk about a trip that you went on, you could say these 3 sentences. Visiting somewhere so different from home gave me a different perspective on life. Or, the tour guide fostered a sense of curiosity and adventure. Or, being able to go to the land of my ancestors was extremely fulfilling. So the great thing about learning these words is that they are so flexible, and you only need to put one into a sentence to make that sentence really sound good. Look at that last sentence, being able to go to the land of my. All of those are very simple words, right? Then ancestors is a little bit more complicated. That's a good word. But then we have was extremely and then fulfilling at the end. So we've only really got 1 or 2, maybe 1.5 high-level words in there. But just because we have them, the whole sentence sounds really good. So we've learned a lot of vocabulary there, but remember, it's not enough just to hear the vocabulary. We have to remember it, we have to practice it, and we have to use it as well. So the first step that I want you to do with that is to actually try answering this question. So we're going to play the recording 3 more times of the question, and then I want you to follow the timer on screen. You'll have 90 seconds. I want you to answer the question, okay? Speaking out loud. It's really important when you're practicing to make it as close to the real exam as you can. So speak out loud and try to speak for at least 60 or 70 seconds if you can. Once you've done that, we'll come back and we'll look at the whole of my answer together. All right, but first, it's your turn. So have a try at that question now. Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? Talk about a memorable teacher you had. What about their teaching made them stand out? Okay, so welcome back. Let's take a look at my full answer. So I'm going to read it for you as I would read it if I was taking the exam. So, as soon as I heard the question, my old maths teacher, Mrs. Page, came to mind. It must be coming up for 6 years since I was in Mrs. Page's class, and to be honest, it feels like a lifetime ago. I'll always be grateful to Mrs. Page because she made an effort to help me when other teachers seemed indifferent. I was always apprehensive about maths tests, but she reassured me and made me believe I could pass. In light of her kindness, I've thought about her often over the years. What stood out most about her teaching was how she instilled belief in her students. She took time to understand each of us, tailoring her approach to our individual needs. Being taught by her gave me a whole new perspective on learning. She encouraged us to see challenges as opportunities to grow, a mindset I still carry with me today. I'll always be appreciative of her influence on who I am today. So there we go, that's my answer, and that would score at least 140 in the DET. And there we go, you've learned over 35 new words and phrases to help you in your listen then speak questions. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to keep improving and keep practicing for the DET, we've got loads of resources just here under the video. We've got playlists about all of the different question types, and we have full DET practice tests for you to take. So check that out here under the video. I'm Francis from Last Minute English. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck in your DET, and I'll see you next time.